This Part 2 Episode 90. Just like Yang Feng had thought, his bone dragon was so strong that he could challenge an ordinary soul Doluo with his 7-ringed soul sage cultivation. He couldn't be so easily blocked by Shu Sansha. The shield of the Xuanwu turtle was instantly crushed. Shu Sansha was also flung back, spitting blood as he flew through the air. Sansha. Jiang Nan was screaming in pain, as she was stuck in the bony claw prison. She attacked the prison with all her might, but she still couldn't escape. However, Shu Sanshi's block also caused the bone dragon to stall a little. This gave He Kai-Tu enough time to react. He unleashed his protective barrier, an invincible barrier, without any hesitation. At the same time, he also lifted 2 Class 6 soul cannons on his shoulders. He attacked with everything he had. But Yang Feng was too strong. In fact, his individual abilities were even superior to Tang Ya's. It was just Tang Ya was very special to the Holy Ghost Church. That was why his status was slightly lower than hers. He Kai-Tu's attacks didn't have any effect on him. Although he was stalled momentarily, he crashed ferociously into He Kai-Tu's protective barrier in the next moment. Bang! He Kai-Tu also flew back. However, he was quite fortunate compared to Shu Sansha. His invincible barrier was crushed, but managed to resist the charge of the bone dragon. His protective barrier was on the verge of breaking as he was also flung backward. It was important to know that his protective soul barrier was Class 7. If it were Class 6, he might even be in a worse state compared to Shu Sansha. Boom! At this moment, a thunderous boom sounded in the sky, and the suppressed gloomy clouds seemed to be on the verge of erupting. "You're all dead!" The panting Lu Gingging shouted in a furious and violent manner. He rose again, and charged towards Hu Yuhao. Yang Feng shot out his dragon's breath towards He Kai-Tu, and froze him into a brick of ice even though he was protected by his protective barrier. Yang Feng didn't pursue Shu Sansha, but instead unleashed his dragon's breath towards the Eye of Fear in the sky. This threat in the sky had to be removed. Boom! The Eye of Fear was destroyed. The Tang sect, which had perfect coordination every time, lost their advantage at this moment. Xiao Xiao gritted her teeth, and did her best to restrain the Skeleton King. This was the most she could do. The Abomination and Bone Dragon were too strong. If she let the Skeleton King out, they were bound to lose. Jiang Nan was trapped by the bony claw prison and couldn't move. On the other side, Shu Sansha was critically hurt, and couldn't get up after being thrown back. He Kai-Tu was also frozen. The only ones who could still fight were Hu Yuhao and Wang Donga. Their opponents were Lu Gingging, who was like an injured wild beast, and Yang Feng, who was still in his bone dragon state. The Tang sect has lost. All the spectators had this same thought in their mind. Lu Gingging roared into the sky. As he roared, fat started to ooze from his body. Although this fat wasn't his own soul power, it was still energy that he had accumulated. It appeared very disgusting, but it was very important to him. He had obtained it through devouring corpses. Today's setback was quite great for Lu Gingging. Hu Yuhao's chest flashed with light. He slid backward. It was the effect of a soul thruster on his chest. With the propulsion from his soul thruster, he advanced towards Wang Donga behind him. Yang Feng fluttered his wings after getting rid of the Eye of Fear. The entire stage was in chaos. Yang Feng flew towards Hu Yuhao and Wang Donga. The stage was only 100 meters in diameter, and Yang Feng's body was 15 meters long. As he fluttered his wings, he quickly bore down on Hu Yuhao and Wang Donga in a suppressive manner. He also didn't forget to unleash his dragon's breath at Xiao Xiao. As long as Xiao Xiao's 3 cauldrons were overcome, Tang Dai could be released. The combination of the 3 evil soul masters would ensure their victory. Even though they were winning, Yang Feng still remained very calm. The mysterious imperial tutor nodded his head in approval as he saw this. They couldn't be in a more dire situation. However, Hu Yuhao still remained very calm. His eyes had turned completely golden at this moment. Even his body was covered by a layer of golden light. From the looks of it, he almost seemed to have been sculpted from gold right now. His wheelchair was also shining with the same golden glow. An awe-inspiring figure suddenly surfaced behind Hu Yuhao. It was a tall man. As it was only a projection, the looks of this man couldn't be clearly seen. He mimicked a smacking action, and an aura that resembled that of the sovereign's descent was released, along with a streak of golden light. The dragon's breath was intercepted by the streak of golden light, and both entities disappeared. Hu Yuhao's vertical eye opened as he exploited this opportunity. Following this, the illusory figure behind him turned into a huge eye. It also had a vertical pupil, but it was silver. White-silver level of a body-soul's second awakening. In the spectators' stand, there were a few exclamations from different areas. The sudden appearance of this white-silver vertical pupil shook all the soul masters who understood body souls. Yes, it was a second awakening of the white-silver level. This was one of Hu Yuhao's trump cards. In the previous few rounds of the tournament, he had not used it no matter how tough he found things. It was only at this moment that he used it as they were on the verge of being eliminated. His teammates were in life-and-death situations, and he had no choice but to reveal his greatest trump card. All of Hu Yuhao's soul rings disappeared as a silvery white light flashed. His body also slowly drifted up. He drifted into mid-air. He couldn't walk, so only drifted there. But since he hung in mid-air, he currently didn't appear any different from a normal person. The huge silver eye drifted forward and engulfed his body. At that instant, the golden light released by his eye of destiny fused with the silver eye. As gold and silver intersected, a distorted glow started to spread with his body at the center. When Yang Feng saw the silver eye behind Hu Yuhao, he was shocked. One thought arose in his mind. Is this the second awakening of his body-soul? However, isn't this something that only members of the body sect can do? Don't tell me Hu Yuhao is a spy from the body sect in Shrek Academy. As he thought of all this, the light rays in front of him distorted. Yang Feng fluttered his wings and wanted to annihilate Hu Yuhao. However, his surroundings only rippled with distorted waves. Wang Donga had already stuck close to Hu Yuhao's back, and now she wrapped her arms under his. She clasped her hands together in front of his chest. Her wings opened wide behind her back. Even she entered a miraculous state at this moment. The bone dragon jerked and opened its wings. A thick icy blue glow started to expand with his body at the center. He was trying to disperse the distorted lights. However, the distorted rays instead became clearer and clearer. Following this, Yang Feng heard a deafening explosion. Boom. Ah! As the explosion rang out, Lu Gingging screamed tragically. How is this possible? What did he do to Lu Gingging? Yang Feng was shocked. He was very confident in Lu Gingging's defensive prowess. Lu Gingging was only hurt even after being hit 3 times by 2 Class 7 soul tools. Could Hu Yuhao even hurt Lu Gingging? It was unbelievable. However, the truth was that Hu Yuhao had managed to so. The spectators could certainly tell that Hu Yuhao had hurt Lu Gingging. Hu Yuhao's body shifted instantly as he was hugged by Wang Donga. Following this, Hu Yuhao's body shone with bright white light. After this, he raised his left arm. His left hand opened wide, then mimicked a closing action. Following this, a loud boom sounded behind Lu Gingging's back. The back half of his body was blown apart. Suddenly, his fat scattered. At least a third of Lu Gingging's body had been blown away. His disgusting fat was scattered all over the arena. He was also flung into the air as he screamed, and he crashed down towards Yang Feng. Hu Yuhao's vertical eye flashed once again. The air on the stage distorted even more. This time, even the spectators couldn't see things clearly. He can use his left arm. Has he been tricking us all this while? In the resting area, the scorpion tiger Doluo looked very pale as he watched everything. Yes, Hu Yuhao could use his left arm. However, he hadn't tricked anyone. It was because his left arm had just recovered a few days ago. He had relied on the pure distillate to cultivate, as he absorbed the origin energy of ultimate ice at a faster speed than before. He absorbed a little every day. In this way, his cultivation increased at a significant speed, and the origin energy of ultimate ice in his left arm greatly decreased. After the origin energy had been completely neutralized in his left arm had naturally recovered. Earlier in the battle, Lu Gingging had crashed down on Hu Yuhao and was smacked aside by Hu Yuhao's palm. Hu Yuhao had also exploited the impact force to slide backwards. To all the spectators, that was the only time the two of them had clashed. However, no one had noticed Hu Yuhao's transformations, as they were distracted by Lu Gingging. Hu Yuhao's palm was a fusion between his fighting technique, the goddess of light, and the strength of the Snow Emperor spirit. After he unleashed that palm, his attacks evidently slowed down. That was because he needed some time to adjust after the heavy exertion. The Snow Empress 3 Ultimate Techniques, Empress Palm, Snowless Glacier. It was a snowless glacier fused with the goddess of light. The palm had seemed very simple, but it had compressed the ultimate ice within it. The origin energy of ultimate ice brought a lot of trouble to Hu Yuhao. However, there were benefits alongside the problems. The temperature of his ultimate ice was even lower now than it had been in the past. Only the core of the abomination belonged to Lu Gingging. When he was struck by Hu Yuhao's palm earlier, he felt his hip and back turning numb. However, his defense was very strong. The chill from the snowless glacier couldn't penetrate the many layers of his fat to freeze his heart. However, the snowless glacier could freeze his fat. The ultimate chill spread at a frightening speed, and gradually froze huge lumps of fat on Lu Gingging's body. Just as Hu Yuhao unleashed the second awakening of his body-soul, he also lifted his left hand. Ice explosion technique. Within a set region, all frozen matter would be affected by the ice explosion technique. Even though Hu Yuhao didn't infuse the ice explosion technique into the abomination's soul power, it was enough that he blew the frozen fat apart. This attack immediately hurt Lu Gingging critically. Yang Feng could finally see that the surrounding, distorted lights had turned clearer amidst this deafening explosion. He saw with his own eyes that lumps and lumps of fat were scattered everywhere. Lu Gingging was screaming tragically as he was flung away, while Hu Yuhao and Wang Donga were charging at him from the sides. An intense dark gold light turned into a huge light blade, and this blade slashed towards Lu Gingging's battered body. Yang Feng's bone dragon let out a hoarse draconic roar. His eyes were filled with spirit fire that burned very strongly. Icy blue lights surrounded his body, and instantly converted into a huge current that attacked Hu Yuhao and Wang Donga. This icy blue current was more than 5 meters in diameter. From the looks of it, it was like a huge ice beam. The entire stage was covered by a layer of frost at this point. Thunder rumbled in the skies and storms raged. Torrential rain descended. There was a massive boom as a huge ice sculpture suddenly appeared on the stage. Yang Feng's attack wasn't a joke. In his martial soul true body state as the Bone Dragon, his fighting strength was immense. He was definitely the most terrifying person in this tournament. When the huge ice sculpture was frozen, it turned into ice powder that scattered. The evil power of ice was filled with the hatred and destructive intent of an avenging spirit. After being struck, the target was instantly destroyed. It was over. Yang Feng's Bone Dragon revealed an arrogant look. However, the arrogance turned into shock in the next instant. The surrounding lights dispersed, and a figure drifted in the air not far away from him. How is this possible? They should have been killed by my breath of extermination. Why are they still here? Yang Feng only saw Wang Donga helping Hu Yuhao remain aloft. Following this, he discovered that the abomination that Lu Gingging had changed into had disappeared. The disgusting fat was also gone. The rest of the stage was normal, but his teammate was no longer around. Sadness and disbelief. Hu Yuhao smiled and said to Yang Feng, "You were very strong when you killed your own teammate." Yang Feng's heart sank. He finally realized what had happened. How did you do it? When I was in my martial soul true body, my spiritual power was burning as the spirit fire. It causes many people's spiritual control to lose effect. Your cultivation is so far away from mine. How is it possible? Yang Feng finally understood. Just earlier, he had been affected somehow by Hu Yuhao, and thought Lu Gingging was Hu Yuhao and Wang Donga. However, he was still shocked by how Hu Yuhao managed to trick him. Hu Yuhao said, "Do you think I'll tell you?" Yang Feng's Bone Dragon's head lifted, and he said coldly, "You killed another of my teammates. I'll cultivate your soul for 49 days, and let you suffer the most painful torture in this world before I let you die." Hu Yuhao smiled, "If you can." Yang Feng snorted, "The gap in our abilities can't be made up so easily. If I'm not wrong, your spiritual power must have been depleted quite a lot after my misjudgment earlier. With the defensive prowess of my martial soul true body, your attacks can't possibly overcome my defenses. That's why you didn't continue to use your spiritual power to interfere with me. You are bound to lose this fight. Is that so? Let's try then." Hu Yuhao's eyes flashed with a cold look. His vertical eye shone again, and a streak of golden light suddenly descended from the sky, landing accurately on Yang Feng. Suddenly, Yang Feng felt his heart skip a beat, and an extremely weird feeling engulfed his body. It was like everything around him had turned dark. What skill is this? It clearly hasn't affected me, but why do I feel so discomforted? Kill him, kill him. A wild thought arose in Yang Feng's head. The icy blue lights around him became stronger, and even his pale white bones turned icy blue. There was only one thought in his head. He wanted to kill Hu Yuhao. Around Hu Yuhao's body, the silver lights emitted by his silver vertical pupil became stronger. Not only this, but Wang Dong'er also started to experience weird changes. The stage suddenly lit up without any warning. A halo flashing with a whitish gold glow had spread from Hu Yuhao's body. Following this, the entire stage lit up with a beam of golden silver light. This beam of light appeared too suddenly, and it was also very strong and blinding. Along with the sudden storms and rain, the spectators were getting very excited. However, no one could tell what was happening on stage right now. The beam of light only lasted for an instant before it disappeared. However, something shocking appeared on the stage. The bone dragon, who was drifting in mid-air earlier, and was ready to kill Hu Yuhao and Wang Dong'er as it unleashed all its soul power, crashed forcefully to the ground. A deafening boom reverberated out at the impact. Following this, the light from Hu Yuhao's vertical eye disappeared. Wang Dong'er's wings closed up and engulfed him. A bright golden light rose. A low-pitched dragon roar and pleasant singing voice sounded at almost the same time. Golden lights suddenly separated from the front and back of Hu Yuhao's body. In mid-air, he turned into three figures. In front of his actual body was the golden goddess of light. Behind him, there was also another golden goddess of light. The two ravishing, golden figures surfaced in front of and behind Hu Yuhao just like that. They formed a weird image in the air. It was a pity that no one could clearly see the looks in the eyes of these two figures. They wore very complex looks, but they weren't identical. Two streaks of golden light shot towards the central figure. From the central figure, a white glow and an azure-green glow surfaced at the same time. Golden, white, azure-green, blue, and purple. These dazzling glows started to rise from the central figure at the same time. A purplish gold halo also surfaced beneath that figure. It wasn't a soul ring, but a halo with elegant floral patterns. This halo included patterns of a dragon's totem, patterns of the radiant butterfly goddess totem, a ravishing lady, a mysterious pupil, and a fat worm, as well as a scorpion that flashed with an azure light. When these light patterns came together, they formed the complex and mysterious halo. Under the illumination of this halo, a figure resurfaced in the air. It was a slender man covered with purplish gold armor. The armor wasn't made of metal, but some sort of shiny and transparent gemstone. The purplish gold light was shining forth from the armor. He had a pair of special wings behind him. They weren't made of feathers, and didn't resemble butterfly wings either. They had adopted the structure of wings that seemed to belong to some kind of ancient, sacred dragon. While the man wore armor, he didn't have a helmet. His black hair flowed down behind his shoulders. On his forehead, there was a bright purplish gold vertical eye. Upon closer inspection, the reflection of the principles of heaven and earth could be seen in his eye. The man didn't resemble anyone, he didn't look like Wang Dong'er or Hu Yuhao. His handsomeness was filled with a sense of holiness. The armor scales were rhombic, and they refracted purplish gold rays under the illumination of the purplish gold glow. Along with the purplish gold halo beneath the man's feet, he looked magnificent. He wasn't holding any weapons, but there was a huge dragon revolving around his body. He shut his eyes, but the vertical eye on his forehead remained open. What exactly was this? Up on the main stage, the mysterious imperial tutor, Zhu Zi, Jing Hongchen, and all the other Sun Moon Empire officials all stood up. There was no lack of strong soul masters among them. However, it was their first time seeing something like this. Fusion skill? No, it can't be. This doesn't look like a fusion skill. How can there be so many changes in a fusion skill? Furthermore, the Sun Moon Empire had done a thorough investigation of Hu Yuhao and Wang Dong'er. There weren't any records of such a transformation being used by them. When the purplish gold figure appeared, the weather changed. The raging storms and rain seemed to stop. The entire stage was illuminated by the purplish gold light. What exactly was this? The bone dragon finally lifted his head again. When everyone else saw the stage shining with golden and silver lights earlier, he had seen the silver eye shining brightly when Hu Yuhao's body soul underwent its second awakening. Hu Yuhao's golden vertical eye turned into a silver one. The golden and silver lights had turned into an unprecedentedly powerful spiritual shock that had struck him. A strong sense of crisis forced Yang Feng to gather his soul power around his head. Even so, he still experienced a throbbing dizziness after being struck. Even his spiritual sea started to crack, and he lost control of his body temporarily. Eventually, he collapsed onto the stage. Just as he was struggling and managed to stay clear-headed for a moment, he saw something very strange, or rather, miraculous. Is this another illusion? Yang Feng struggled to stand up. As he roared, he tried to bear the intense pain that followed the spiritual shock. His wings opened, and he started to fly again. The purplish gold figure also moved at this moment. He was extremely quick. He reached an unbelievable speed in just a second. However, the figure didn't charge towards Yang Feng, but towards the side. Xiao Xiao dismantled her cauldron formation at the same time and somersaulted backward in the air. The purplish gold figure was like a bolt of purplish gold lightning that suddenly flashed in the air. It swept past the Skeleton King. A purplish gold palm was pressed against the Skeleton King, who was completely clueless about what was going on. A purplish gold projection flashed before disappearing. The Skeleton King's head exploded with a quiet boom. A white light also shot into his crushed head. Just as it was rising, the spirit fire that attempted to escape was dissipated by the purifying white light. A tragic scream resonated across the entire stage. The Skeleton King collapsed to the ground. His black bones couldn't handle it anymore, and were completely crushed. Yang Feng finally panicked. By the time he saw the purplish gold figure again, the Skeleton King was already dead. Even though the Skeleton King was restrained by the three-lived soul crush cauldron earlier, this sudden destructiveness was too frightening. Even his spirit fire didn't escape, and he was killed so easily. The eyes of the purplish gold figure were still shut, and he remained in mid-air. His dragon wings were open, and the purplish gold glow, as well as the halo beneath his feet, was still flashing gently. The sound of the wind stopped, while the rain changed. The torrential rain seemed to be guided by an invisible force, and gathered towards the center of the stage. The rainwater followed the circular opening at the top of the barriers and flowed down. It was like a waterfall had appeared above the stage. As the rainwater reached less than 200 meters from the ground, it began falling at a considerably slower rate. The rainwater turned into falling snow, and started to engulf the entire stage. He can manipulate the weather. Isn't this something only a titled Doluo can do? After being astonished several times, Yang Feng felt as if there were a mountain on his chest. He knew he couldn't wait anymore. The purplish gold figure was like an immortal that had descended upon the mortal world. He used one palm strike to kill the Skeleton King, casting a huge shadow over the back of his mind. As the weather changed, Yang Feng also knew that his time was almost up. The bone dragon lifted his head to the sky and roared. The icy blue light around its body rose once again. The falling snowflakes actually helped to strengthen him. The bone dragon was a creature of evil and ice. At this moment, Yang Feng's body shone brightly with icy blue light that burned like fire. His bone dragon body expanded once again, growing by several meters. After that, he charged towards the purplish gold figure with an unstoppable momentum. It was do or die. He exploited the opportunity before his opponent unleashed all his strength to push for victory. The purplish gold figure seemed as if he didn't care. He lifted his right hand and pointed his index finger towards the sky. Suddenly, the falling snowflakes danced and converted into a huge icy whirlpool descending from the sky. The temperature on the stage fell significantly, and even the yellowish barriers started to turn white. The soul masters maintaining the barriers were under great pressure. It felt like the extreme chill could seep into their bodies through the barriers. What kind of force is this? Is he a titled Doluo? Xingzhong was already at a loss for words. The falling temperature caused him to feel cold, even with his cultivation. Even if someone allowed him to end the fight right now, he would be very unwilling to do so. He knew that he could be hurt if he just ended it like this. Is this really achievable by someone who's not even 20 years old? The bone dragon took only a second to arrive in front of the purplish gold figure. The purplish gold figure lifted his left arm and mimicked a pushing action. The wings behind his back suddenly changed color. One side turned white, while the other became shiny and transparent. There was a captivating light projection above each of the wings. They looked like two elegant ladies. Rings of light started to rise from the purplish gold figure's feet. The first halo was blood red, and carried 4 streaks of gold. The second to fifth halos were all orange gold. The fifth halo flashed. The bone dragon stopped in front of the pushing left palm, and couldn't advance any further. The icy blue flames that were burning on his body seemed to meet with an obstacle, too. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't advance. The stage suddenly lit up with a patch of blinding light. However, it wasn't gold and silver this time. Rather, it was white and jade green. Those who were prepared this time saw everything clearly. The white and azure green light came from the purplish gold figure's wings. They appeared as two captivating projections that merged together. Instantly, they spread from the head of the bone dragon all the way to his tail. The two lights seemed to flash across his entire body in an instant. The patch of blinding light disappeared. The spinning snowflakes above the stage also stopped, and slowly stopped descending altogether. Then they started rising instead. They changed into ice blades shooting into the sky. The falling rain was slashed apart by these blades and turned into snow. Eventually, it changed into a huge icy tornado that whirled its way into the sky. Xingzhong was in daze as he watched all this. His pupils shrank. Just as the white and azure green lights flashed, he felt goosebumps all across his body. Even he wasn't sure what he would do if he faced such an attack. What kind of strength is that? 8 rings. The attack must at least be at the level of an 8-ringed soul Doluor. No wonder he was afraid, even though he was a Class 9 soul engineer. After all, he didn't possess the fighting strength of a true title Doluor. How is this possible? Hu Yuhao and Wang Donga have 5 and 6 rings respectively. Their combined strength is actually able to reach an 8-ringed level. The bone dragon opened its mouth and continued to drift in front of the purplish gold left palm. His voice was becoming more and more coarse. Can you tell me the name of this soul skill? Hu Yuhao's indifferent and cold voice sounded out. It's called the Pride of the Ice and Snow Empresses. Thanks. Yang Feng's voice suddenly sounded huskier. In the next instant, his body seemed to turn brighter. Following this, his bones started to crack. After a series of piercing cracks, his bones were crushed. When his crushed bones fell to the ground, they turned to powder. A ball of icy blue light shone for a short while around the bone dragon's head before it disappeared. The Pride of the Ice and Snow Empress didn't just destroy his body, it destroyed his soul, too. Yang Feng was completely obliterated. The Tang sect versus the Holy Ghost sect. Of the 4 disciples from the Holy Ghost sect that had competed, all 4 were killed. They were annihilated. On the main stage, the mysterious Imperial tutor suddenly clenched his fist extremely tightly. A very unstable and dangerous aura was exuded from his body. He was like a volcano that could erupt at any time. Jing Hongchen took a step forward and blocked Xu Qianran, protecting both him and Zhu Zi. A fiery red glow shone on his chest. Although Jing Hongchen hadn't fought this Imperial tutor before, he knew how scary he was. Once he erupted, the entire main stage would turn into hell. Jing Hongchen wasn't the only one who sensed the dangerous aura. There were 7 or 8 people who quickly rushed in front of Xu Qianran and protected him as well. There was also another person beside the Imperial tutor. It was a lady completely decked out in black robes. Founder, please calm down. The Imperial tutor slowly retracted his dangerous aura, and his cold and creepy voice resonated from underneath his veil. Bloody Tang sect. How dare they kill my disciples? I'll let them have a taste of what it's like to have their souls burned and be skinned to the bones. How could his heart not ache? These disciples who represented the Holy Ghost Church weren't even 20 years old yet, but they were all elites. Yang Feng was even his inheriting disciple. He had high hopes for Yang Feng, but now had he died just like that under Hu Yuhao and Wang Dong's hands. No matter how cold he was still heartbroken right now. He almost lost his cool. Imperial tutor, please calm down. I promise you that I'll hand them over to you and you can do whatever you want with them. Xu Qianran recovered after a momentary shock. He promised the Imperial tutor from safely behind his subjects. Your Highness, you don't have to go to so much trouble. I'll deal with these small fries myself, I'll send people to catch them. After he finished speaking, he turned around and walked away. As he walked off the stage, he blurred and turned into a streak of black light before disappearing. The lady in black said to Xu Qianran, Your Highness, please understand how the Imperial tutor feels. If he was being disrespectful, I'd like to apologize on his behalf. No worries, Xu Qianran smiled in reply, as if he wasn't bothered at all. The lady in black nodded at Xu Qianran. After that, She also jumped up and turned into a streak of black light, chasing after the imperial tutor. Jing Hongchen looked a little dismal as he said, "Your Highness, the Holy Ghost Church is too arrogant. How dare they act like this in front of you?" Xu Qianran maintained his composure and said, "Hallmaster Hongchen, watch your words." Jing Hongchen was slightly stunned, and he grunted in anger. However, he didn't continue. He understood a little about the Holy Ghost Church. He knew that there was someone so strong in the church that even the illustrious Virtue Hall couldn't afford to offend them. The purplish gold figure finally landed at this point. His icy white and azure green wings regained their purplish gold color. They slowly closed up behind him. A strong purplish gold light suddenly separated from his body, and two golden figures appeared in front of and behind him. The light dispersed and changed into a strong glow that engulfed all three figures. As the glow distorted, Hu Yuhao and Wang Donga reappeared on the stage. Wang Donga's figure flashed, and she moved to grab Hu Yuhao. She prevented him from falling, as he couldn't stand straight with his legs. Hu Yuhao was a little pale, but he was in good spirits. There was a steady look in his eyes, and he seemed resilient. He clenched both of his fists tightly. He couldn't hide his excitement. "Donga, we've won," Hu Yuhao said with real emotion. This video will end here.